Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at a product from a completely new company. These are the first videos. It's the original launch stuff for a company called CableMod. Now cables, you can pretty much guess what's coming already, but these are replacement cables for fully modular power supplies. Now by replacement cables, what I mean is they're not extensions, they replace the cables right from the very beginning of the power supply right the way up to the end. So if I've got a power supply here, a lot of companies, you can buy the braided extensions which just go on the end of your normal cables. But these cables, a bit like the ones that you can get for this unit that I've got on my hands now, you can get Corsair braided cables, but these, they go right from the very bottom of your power supply up to the end. And the reason why that is actually a good thing is rather than having black at the bottom and then with your extensions you have coloured at the top, these go right the way from the bottom where the extension goes in the power supply and then up to your system. So when you can see the cables in the bottom of your rig, they're all coloured. Now what I do want to do is I'm going to bring these all into play because there's a lot of colours available. And there's really a lot for me to talk about as well. But essentially, because they're fully modular kits, and by kits I mean they're direct replacements, they replace all the cables in your system. The original, there's going to be 3 series that come out. The C series are for the Corsair power supplies. That will cover the AXIs, the HXIs and the RM power supplies because they all have the same pinouts. So it has to be the AXI, not the normal AX, that, you know, they won't work. So AXI, HXI and RM. And then there's SE series, and that's for the Seasonic XP2s and KM3s. And then there's the E series, which is for the EVGA G2 and P2. If your power supply isn't on that list, then they're not supported at launch and the cables are not interchangeable between the power supplies. But there will be later on, like when we get into next year, there are going to be, they're going to expand into other brands as well. I know Enermax are on the cards because we all know that the standard Enermax cables are terrible. So there is room for growth with these as well. But these are also the colours of the cables at launch. But I do want to cover a few things because the braid on these is paracord. It's not nylon, and even a lot of the custom braiders still use a nylon braid, but these are paracord. But unlike a lot of the paracord that's out there, including the Bitphoenix Alchemies, this is a thinner paracord, and they've spent ages on this. I've known about that these were coming for at least the last 18 months. And they've spent a long time working on these, and essentially what they've done is there's no braid, there's no heat shrink on any of these, and it's all heat shrink free. Now on these ones, that's not so much of a big shout out, but when I show you later on the SATA cables and stuff like that, the fact that it's all heat shrink free is a big shout. Now the colours that we're going to get at launch, you're going to get your normal. If I move the mixed ones out the way, just because it's going to completely throw me otherwise. These are your launch colours. So you're going to get orange. Now this is an unusual colour to get for a launch one. It is a nice orange as well. It's not too insanely bright. It's not like a fluorescent orange. I'd say it's probably a mix between an orange and a gold. It's a little bit more subtle than like the flory oranges that you can get out there. It doesn't, for argument's sake, it's not a perfect match for like the Gigabyte overclock orange boards, for argument's sake. It's a little bit more subtle than that, but I think I actually prefer that on this one. Then we have a normal blue, which is a lovely, it's going to suit, if your blue's your colour, you're not going to mind about this. There is obviously going to be some glorious white. Obviously, and don't forget where I said this is paracord and not nylon as well. It's actually got kind of a fabric feel to it, which is rather lovely. Red, which is obviously classic. Then we've got green for all you NVIDIA fanboys out there. I know my mate Steve-O is going to be pissing his pants when he sees this because there's never enough green out there. But for those of you that want something slightly more classic, you can get the classic black. But if you want a bit of mix and match and you can't make your mind up, you can also get the black and blue, you can get black and red, and this I'm going to fit an entire black and red kit into the graphics card test system, which I'll show you at the end of the video so you can see it all fitted. So bear with me. And then you can get black and orange, which is lovely that we've not only got an orange, but they're also giving you a mix as well, so that's awesome. And then again, another one for Steve-O to shout out about is the black and green. Now you're now all going to be wondering what's in the kits. Okay then, so we're going to move on to the box, and I'm going to do a full rip down box opening with this and show you all the cables inside. Because obviously where this is a new product, I want you to see from the, from the ground up all the packaging and everything as well. So this is the, I've got, if we zoom in on the label, you can see that we are AXI, HXI and RM. I asked for Corsair because obviously I use Corsair power supplies. We can see that we've got the black and red C-series cable kit. And then there's a sleeve, so it leaves us with the box. And then when we get the actual box open, we get inside, and then we've got a bag, a drawstring bag. Now this already feels just like I'm unboxing a power supply, which is obviously a great feeling when you're going to be replacing all the cables on your power supply. You want to it's got to give you peace of mind and know that you're getting a good quality product. And like I said, this does just feel like an OEM power supply kit that's coming out here. So it puts my mind at rest. So when we undo the kit, we get them all out. Now, one of the things that I want to do straight away is separate out the PCI Express cables, because that's something that I know a lot of you are going to be shouting about. So I'm just going to separate these out. I know they're ever so slightly out of shot, but it's just so that I can get my bearings with all the cables for you, so I can talk through everything properly. So that's a 8 pin, that's a 24 pin, so that must mean, yep. So the reason why I'm separating these out is just so that I can talk you through the difference in the cables, because you get, that's another SATA cable, all I need to do is find the other 8 pin, and there it is. Right, so you get two 8-pin CPU power. Now the CPU power cables, you get a 4+4, and then the normal 8-pin on its own, which is kind of handy. So you've got those two batches of cables. Then with the cables, I'm just going to find the daisy chains because they're the bigger ones. You get two daisy chain cables, and the daisy chain cables basically mean, if I were to undo these, where's the end? Right, the daisy chain cables essentially mean that you get two connections at the end. So you get one connection into your power supply, and then you get two PCI Express connectors at the end. They're both 6+2s, but with some of the really high draw power supplies, these may not work, and it really is hit and miss. There is no 290X does need separate cables, or 780 Ti or a 980. Some graphics cards just don't like daisy chains, and I've never found out what the difference is and why. So sometimes you may not need these, but there are two in here. I always try and use daisy chains to keep things tidier, but if your graphics card is one of the ones that doesn't like one of these, then you still get 4 individual 6+8 pins as well. So if your graphics card needs 2, then you've got enough in the kit with individual cables to do 2 graphics cards. So if you've got triple SLI or something like that, then you are going to end up having to use at least 1 or 2 of the daisy chains, depending on how your graphics card works out. So that's something I do want to clear up with these. This is also why I have said to CableMod that it might be an idea to sell the PCI Express cables separately, just in case they might want another daisy chain, they might want another individual, and it just then leaves the options down to you. Some sound cards need PCI Express. I know the Asus Phoebus does. So it just means that you're not going to be limited to what comes in the kit. And it's, you know what I mean? If it's an optional extra like that, it's not going to be too much of a sting in the bum. It will just be because you've got so much hardware in your rig. Now, what we can do is come in so that we can have a decent look at the end of these. Now, please bear with me while I get everything kind of in focus and everything, but you can see the cables here. Now, I can bring the camera in a little bit more. I'm just trying to do it nice and gently, so that you can see the braid and everything on these. Now, as you can see, there's no heat shrink or anything at the end. As I said, they've worked painlessly, tirelessly to make sure, because the Paracord that they've used for this, they've actually made the strands thinner. And that's not only so they don't have to use any heat shrink, but it's also to make it more pliable. It's a lot easier to bend. I'm trying to keep this in, but it's a lot easier to bend. And I did say about the Sators. Now, the Sators are renowned for needing heat shrink. There's no heat shrink on the end of these. And sometimes you have big lines of them. And these, as you can see, if we get one with all the ends in, see that oh, there we go. Apologies, there we go. You can see that you've got an in and an out on that one. So they've done, considering, like I said, these are a mass-produced product, the braiding on the end of these is brilliant. And essentially, where there's no heat shrink, it actually goes into the fitting that goes into the end of this. And this is, again, something that the quality control guys have been working on really hard. You can actually see the little bits of metal that you can see down at that end. That's where the Paracord is actually nipped into. And like I said, this thinner braided, this thinner lined Paracord is exclusive to CableMod, because they've pretty much, it's their own spec that they've done for these cables themselves. So we've got the SATA cables there, they're the really hard ones, but just to show you the some other ones, we can show you, thank you camera, we can show you the end of a normal Molex as well. But don't forget, they are, just so that to be very clear, the end bits that go into the power supply are power supply specific. So not swappable between different brands, unless you go like between the brands that are supported, like the Corsair ones will fit all of the Corsair ones in the list. But you couldn't take your EVGA kit and then chuck it in a Corsair power supply, for example. So I know I'm going to get people saying, oh, well, is my power supply supported? If I've not said it, then no, it's not going to be. So they are very specific, so you do have to be very careful when you purchase these. Back onto the Big Daddy. Bring it back a bit, Tom. There we go. Back onto the Big Daddy. These are the 24-pin ones. Now this end is where it goes into your power supply, and this is obviously your CPU end, and you can see it all does look rather nice, all very tidy, all really nice. Now I do know that overclockers are going to be stocking these. I probably should have said the price at the very beginning, but for an entire replacement kit that you've seen here today, it's going to be £69, which I was amazed when I heard that price, because I personally thought we were going to be talking, you know, sort of £89 at least, because these, as far as replacement cable kits are concerned, this is the nicest braid I've seen from any of the manufacturers. There are people out there that do sets custom to whatever design and stuff that you want, and I've obviously not seen enough of those to really be able to make a good comment. But the fact that you can buy these off the shelf, you get warranty with it as well. You've got the peace of mind of knowing these have been made for a specific brand of power supply, and not just a set of cables that have been made up or customized. And also you get the complete kit ready to rock and rumble to swap all your stuff out. But I think we've really spoken enough about these now. I think it's really now time for me to get my hands dirty and get them in a system so that you can make your own mind up what they look like once they're in. Okay then peeps, so moving on to a look at the complete system and essentially what would be a conclusion. Just to reiterate the price, the full kit that I showed you today, no matter what colour that you would get, for Corsair, obviously you can get the ones for Seasonic and EVGA as well, but they're all £69 overclockers in the UK. I'm going to put the link underneath. Now that actually puts these in significantly under even some of the manufacturer's replacement individually braided cables. One thing I have to say is a lot of those are the really kind of coarse nylon braid, and this is such a nice, smooth, soft paracord that they're really not even comparable. It's kind of like that. These are the aftermarket ones, and those other individually braided kits are almost, I would say they're like just OEM quality. There's such a stark difference between the two. So I'm going to give these the OC 3D Gold Award. But to be honest with you, with the ease of installation, because obviously they're a direct replacement, the colour choices, the quality as well. I mean, look at how tight these bends are. These cables here are not pinned in around the back. They're literally just sat there and they're that tight on their own. That's what she said. They really are brilliant. If you've got one of the power supplies that is in the supported list for the cables, then really I think you owe it to yourself to get yourself a kit for Christmas. If we go, we'll start at the bottom and I'll zoom us in. And like I said, I'm literally just zooming in. It's just in my graphics card bench rig. You can see it. Oh, I've not done anything particularly special to try and make them extra tidy or anything. It's literally just chucked in. We come up slowly again. You can see that bend on that. Now I can make these even tighter. If I wanted to bend these back and zip clip them all in, you could do. Same with the ones above and the 24 pin when we finally get up there. To be honest with you, with these cables, the only way that you could make these better, and Nate will love me for saying it, is if we had some of the E22 cable combs in there as well. If you do get cable combs, make sure that you buy the genuine E22 ones as well, because a lot of people are trying to rip them off now, and it's that's Nate's baby. But if you add some cable combs on this, it helps keep all the cables out individually. It makes it look all that little bit extra sexy, and they're only a couple of quid. Do you know what I mean? You can literally, you can't really even get a pizza for the money that they cost you now anyway. So, in case you're wondering, the 8-pin is there, but it's hidden right at the top. And before, it would have all been hanging out underneath the fans here. But the bend radius on these is so much better than the other cables that have been replaced. It's completely behind the fan now, so it's made things extra tidy in there. And yes, that was the doorbell. You can tell it's Christmas, even though it's late, we're still getting deliveries. So anyway, the cable combs really would finish these off, but like with the top 8-pin, that's completely hidden now, thanks to the fact that these are so much more pliable and bendable. They really are a brilliant set of cable, and it's probably the best set of individually braided cables I've been lucky enough to have my hands on. So I'm actually going to be using these in this rig from now on. That's one of the reasons why I decided to chuck them in the bench rig. It's just because of how nice they look and how easy they are to use as well. I think I'm probably going to have to ask them for some extra kits. But there we go, peeps. That's the CableMod individually braided cable kits, EVGA, Corsair and Seasonic covered in the original batch or the original range. They will be extending that range. £69 overclockers. Click the link underneath. I really do think that you deserve to grab yourself a set of these for Christmas. But for now at least, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out.